Philly service announcement. TakeOver Tuesday. You know, it's raining, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, everything ain't happening the way it's supposed to happen. So I don't know why she not here. It's like my sis ain't here, the Queen Nick. I'm the assist. My man, the executive producer, Mile and Harry, you know what I'm saying? So we gonna get right started with the energy from the door, you know what I'm saying? So I got this beautiful young lady right here. I'm gonna let her explain who she is. Step up in front of there to the folks.
Listen, it's the Queen G. Follow me at the Queen G, 2 underscores. The Queen G. Shout out to Glockaware. Shout out to PSA community. Just follow me, Pamby, like Bambi, like Barbie. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Pamela G. Type in Pamela G. Yeah, so I want to get into this record. This is new, super new. Shout out to Little Mo. And yeah, you can run that toot whenever you're ready.
Baby, at this point in my life, I'm tired of playing games. I'm ready to settle down, ready to buy a house, and I'm ready to change my last name. Ready to have some kids, ready for life to live, and all I have to give. I've been your superwoman for so long. I'm ready to be your wife. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Ooh, you need to come to me. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Get close to me. Ooh, I love your skin, so rugged and soft and so delicate. Do you need some melanin? I won't rub it in. Know just what I like, and you're confident in. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Ooh, you need to come to me. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Get close to me. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Ooh, you need to come to me. Come get close to me. Know just where I am is where you need to be. Get close to me.
PSA community, I love you. That song ain't out yet, but you can just vibe to it. Keep on watching this episode and all the rest of the episodes on the PSA community, and keep up. you
Yo,
know?
I definitely the first thing I want to say is for anybody that's performing in here, female, don't slide over next to my man like that.
What? Why?
Cause he a whole married man, and we don't
Oh,
want those
man.
type of problems.
Listen, let me clear this up, PSA.
Nah,
community.
I'm just messing with you, baby. I'm just messing.
We're not doing that here in the PSA community or anywhere in
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
man, I
in the
gotta
world.
step in for
We
him because
don't-
his
we
wife
don't-
is the co-host.
Yes.
Like, I don't want no trouble.
Queen, you're not here today, but we love you.
Nah, we
No
appreciate
ever
that
disrespect.
energy. We appreciate that
Come
energy.
get close to me, everybody.
So-
I want to let people in, and I'm excited about being here. Shout out to Ace, because I'm just coming out to meet our people and see what's going on with our community and our folks, and see what we can do together.
And
So,
that's definitely one of the things. Like, we want to make sure that everybody is like networking with everybody that come through here. Everybody can get an opportunity. This is definitely Philly support Philly. This is a new narrative. There's a bunch of love moving around this joint. I'm one of those people. Love ball in the building. If y'all haven't heard already.
shout out to
Let me
you.
stop messing with that.
Because I remember we was down at the Trap and Pate. Shout out to
Exactly.
Ace.
My
And you
man.
told me that you was getting ready to get this together.
Nah, listen. It's an open door policy. Like, we helping each other. You know what I mean? Like I said, this is not a talent show. If you already got something that you putting together, you ain't got to be no superstar and all that, but you might be on your way to that. Like, I want to be a part of that. This show this show about to be something major. You know what I'm saying? So you should try to be a part of this. You know what I'm saying? So, I always appreciate the love. Like, I appreciate that people call and ask, and do they want to be on the show? And we want y'all to be on the show. The only thing we ask is make sure this ain't a talent show. This is not a talent show, because I had a couple of cats like, nah, I ain't do it yet, but no, you can't do it here then. If you haven't done it yet,
This
you
is
can't
real
do it here
live
first.
energy, right?
So nah, but I appreciate the performance. It gave me like that 90s feel a little bit. I like that
Yeah.
type of R&B. You know what I'm saying? That's just for me. Might be telling my age. You know what I mean? It don't really matter.
Come get close to me.
Yeah,
Shout
like
out
that
to Lil
whole,
Mo,
you know.
okay?
Exactly. It gives me that type of vibe. So you can use that mic right there. You can put that mic.
Am
turn
I
that joint
on?
off.
Yeah.
You on. So let's get to who is Pamby. Like, what do Pamby consider herself first of all?
So I consider myself a regular person.
No, musically. Like, are you
Oh.
just an artist? Are you consider I'm a singer? Hold on 1 minute. We got another guest coming in here.
Yay. Councilmen.
Hello, how you doing today?
Good to
How are
see
you?
you again.
Good to see you again as well.
Shine on for a minute, but the sister, she was giving us a good understanding of who is Pamby. Like, what do you consider yourself
As an
entertainment wise?
artist.
Yeah, as an artist.
I'm really all around into it. When I think of art, I just don't think of it as music. We're all talented. Our brains is always calculating things. So, I love to paint. Once again, shout out to Ace Trap and Paint every Thursdays and Saturdays. It's just about expressing yourself in whatever ways and colors and shapes, and I do that. Whether it's coming out through some words, moving, dancing, whatever. That's art. That's my art.
No, I got you. So why do you do this? Why do you do what you do?
Because I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to.
Good answer. Good answer.
die. Yeah. I want to be able to express myself and not in anger. And that's why I love coming to places like this, because I need for people to understand we have all of these emotions. When we come up, sometimes we don't know how to actually deal with them, control them. I love music because it really saved my emotions. I'm able to just go write a song, go paint, go pick out a cute outfit for my baby, use my creativity instead of getting angry. Find something to do, positive.
So that's a dope joint, because you do your music for, like, it's cathartic. It's like a
Yeah.
therapy for you.
Because if 9 times out of 10, I know we're getting ready to get into a lot of things, but it's a lot of kids that if they don't have no activities, or someone, giving them something to do as you grow, you're going to probably, depending where you're from, you're going to run into some trouble,
No, I got you. So that's why you do your music. What do you want to get out of your music? Like, what do you want to get out of your art?
I want to get out of it exactly what I'm doing now. Sitting down, speaking to men and women like you, to be able to speak and talk. I like to sing, and I want people to download my music, G Music Volume 2, and I want people to follow me on Instagram at the Queen G, at Pamby. But I want to be able to talk too. Those are just pictures. I want people to listen to us.
You want to be able to express yourself.
Yes, I want to be able to express what we have gone through, and be able to relay that to others who are looking up to us, and they are, and we're not going to deny that.
No, that's dope. So what part of the city are you from?
I'm from all over the parts of the city. When you're growing up, your mother, single mother, Section 8, you go from here to there, up there, you might got to go back. So
Right.
Philly, I represent Philadelphia.
No doubt.
I
I
love
respect
our
that.
city.
No geo stuff. No. So you don't got no ops or nothing then? If you all over the city, you don't
No,
got, I'm just,
I don't. I don't believe so.
nah. So she already alluded to, the I guess we would consider the main man of the hour. You know what I mean?
I'm just here to show
So
up.
I'm not going to get too deep into it or trying to introduce him. I never do that with people. I want them to introduce themselves and let everybody know who you are, where they can find you, what platforms you on. So
Sure. So my name is Keyatta Johnson. I am the councilman for the 2nd Councilmanic District that covers the areas of South Philly, Southwest Philadelphia, and parts of Center City. Born and raised in South Philly, graduated from Edward Bach High School. Got an undergraduate degree in criminal justice from Mansfield University with dual minors in philosophy and sociology. Came back home, went to University of Pennsylvania. That's where I got my master's degree in government administration, public finance, and did some coursework at Harvard Business School on my nonprofit leadership and board management. Got my first gun charge at the age of 16. Had a judge named Frank Reynolds, and used it as an opportunity to determine what I wanted to do with my life.
Right.
Founded my own program called Peace Not Guns. In 1998, a cousin and some friends during the time I was in college, coming home and going back and forth, was murdered in the streets of South Philly. And so from that point forward, I started focusing on teaching young people conflict resolution, anger management, and most importantly, anti-street education. And so that what fuels me in terms of the work that I do as an elected official. Prior to me becoming the first African American to represent the second councilmanic district, I also served as a state representative. But what fuels me to do the work that I'm doing is just based upon my life experience. And so making sure that young people have positive outlets so they can enjoy themselves. It was also part of my story is that a lot of people saw some things in myself that I didn't necessarily see, right? Because I was still in grad school, but still hanging on the corner where I grew up at, which is 18th and Dickinson. And so it took a while for me to make that transition, to do this type of work that I'm doing right now. But at the end of the day, it's about improving the quality of life of not only our neighborhoods, but most importantly, our youth, and taking care of our seniors, and most importantly, doing for self.
No doubt. So as a councilman, how what would you say your resource is? Like some people ask, like, what is the job? But your job is to be a resource, is to serve as as an elected official.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
what is your main resource that you have as a councilman?
Information.
Okay.
Right? Because, I have a belief that our people perish for the lack of knowledge. And so for me, my responsibility is to advocate and make sure I'm bringing resources back to the people in which I represent. And I represent 15 different diverse neighborhoods, but I want to make sure that the reason why I got involved in politics is to make sure that the people in which the neighbor that I grew up in and the neighbors that I represent has a voice. And so, like, give you an example, like right now we're fighting to get additional funding for violence prevention programs here in the city of Philadelphia. We took the law enforcement approach already, right? We know, what some of the root causes of crime and violence revolve around the issue of poverty, right? A lack of investment in our young people, a lack of investment in giving our young people opportunities. And so, like right now, we're fighting in city council to get $100 million out of this upcoming budget to specifically focus on initiatives, programs, and supporting city agencies that will support our youth. Right, and when I say youth, I mean from the babies up to the individuals who may be coming from juvenile home, from juvenile placement, as well as individuals who are adults who are entering into society, to individuals who not even in the game, right? But at the end of the day, they may be straddling the fence,
Right.
based upon what they see. And so for me, information, but most importantly, being an advocate for the people in which I represent, and that's that's like a broad range of a variety of different areas, right? But primarily in city council, as a council person, a lot of the key issues that I advocate for about quality education, quality health care. My main one is gun violence, affordable and workforce housing, right? And job training and workforce opportunities just for people in general.
Right. So when I always want to know, like, why, what do you get out of it? Like, what do you, like, when I ask somebody, like, what do they want to get out the music? Or you already said why you do what you do. But what do you get? What do you, the person, get up? When you get up in the morning and say, I'm a councilman, it should feel a certain type of way.
You know what? When I get up every morning, it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. Like, I literally love my job, right? Like, at the end of the day, if I wasn't elected, I would still be figuring out a way, how am I going to help people, right? It's just an extension of my character. It's an extension of who I am. I know I wouldn't be the person I am if it was not for other individuals who invested in me, who saw some things in me that I didn't necessarily see myself. But I also recognize that from doing this work, right, because my heart and my passion, my dedication is into helping individuals, it's not like going to work every day. And that's a sense of satisfaction. I just love help. You know what it is? I love my people. Yes. Period. I'm going to keep it real with you because, right, sometimes it could be a thankless job. I could have been rolled. I could have got most people get the degrees and bounce. Right? Move out to the suburbs, get a nice crib and so forth. And nothing is wrong with that. But
because I'm trying to bounce right now.
Yeah, ain't nothing.
Just to let y'all know.
Yeah, nothing.
I tried to bounce, but I'm right back here because I love this city. And when you grow up here and then you finally learn to navigate your way around to where you can help.
Yes.
That's what you do.
Yes. And for me also, I recognize that we have an obligation to help each other as black people. Yes. when people talk about our ancestors died for us to have the right to like vote and to like basically live with the basic freedoms that we have right now, that's real, right? And so for me, you know, part of even why I didn't grow up getting involved in politics. I'm a first generation college graduate, right? And so I didn't grow up in that household where we were like getting up and voting was the thing to do or getting involved in politics. But I had an aunt who was very pro-black. I had an aunt that was very pro-black. And she taught me about John and Milton Street and how they fought for us, you know, during her time of growing up, right? And people like Roxanne Jones. So that introduced me to it. But also just from a personal standpoint, I'm a Christian, right? And so that kind of drove my passion also as a kid before I even got involved in politics about just helping individuals. You know what I mean? My grandmother was a foster care grandmom and so forth. So I just naturally like helping people, but I love my people.
So I need two things because that make me think about a lot of stuff, especially when somebody say, "Yo, I love black people." They don't understand that segues into a lot of stuff for me. You know what I'm saying? And that informs me about what my next question can be. So, first of all, as a council person, what makes you the most tangible as a council? Like a person might be like, "Well, what is the job? Like, what do you actually do?" You said that you provide information. You said that you're an advocate, but the actual, you know, when you
Actual job.
the actual job, what is
Actual
the
job.
actual job in terms of how people can contact you? What makes you the most tangible? Like, what is your job, but what makes you the most tangible in that job?
So I'm going to break down just the basics. So as a council person, I sit in city council with 17 of us. I'm a district council person, and I represent the 2nd Councilmanic District, right? And so...
And what area is that? You said it's Southwest, but like...
South Philly, Southwest, and parts of Center City.
Gotcha.
So on the southwest side is neighborhood, and I represent 15 different neighborhoods, but like Pascal, Eastwick, 58th and King Cessna, Myers area, Reinhardt Street, right?
The airport?
Airport as well. Yep, airport is in my district as well. I also have the Navy Yard, all 4 sports teams, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, Eagles. We're also building a new gaming arena in South Philadelphia as well. We just had a flower show the day I was there. Also represent the Navy Yard and also the port, and so it's a very economically enhanced district when it comes to. I call my district the economic engine for the city of Philadelphia, like just across the board. But we do represent 15 different neighborhoods in city council. You know, I'm responsible, separate from the advocacy standpoint. We write bills, right? So I just introduced legislation that was passed to create the Office of Victims Advocate. Matter of fact, we're looking for candidates, anybody that know anyone that's interested in becoming executive director working in this office. But that office will be a voice for those who have lost loved ones to gun violence, focusing on trauma, focusing on restorative justice. But that's the bill that I passed to make sure that those who lost a loved one to gun violence have a voice. Right. Also, around the issue of affordable workforce housing, right? I passed bills to help people get a tax abatement for the lifetime of them living inside their home. Also introduced tax relief bills that allow them to pay their taxes when they sell their homes, all in the effort to address the issue of gentrification. No doubt. Right? So it's for a variety of different things, but in terms of those are like some of my key platform issues, right, that I work on, right? So primarily passing the bills, but also listening to you, right? So some of my best ideas come from my constituents, right? Saying, Councilman, listen, have you ever considered doing A, B, C, and D? Now, what makes me probably very accessible is that I'm always out and about in the community interacting with my constituents. Like, for instance, tomorrow, we have a Peace Not Guns call to action rally that's in my district. And this is about my 6th or 7th one I've done thus far. This summer, it's a way to organize the community leaders around this issue. It's a way that, most importantly, listen to the issues and concerns of my constituents. I'm very, very active on social media. And so, you know, for the most part, it's me responding, right? I get a lot of response from individuals asking how can they get involved on the issue of gun violence. And then at the end of the day, because I'm a neighborhood guy, I'm always in the mix in terms of being inside my neighborhood. So I kind of keep my ear to the ground as well.
Right.
So, question: if somebody had a problem with a water bill or anything like personal, how would they get in touch with you?
Absolutely.
And could you help them?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll give all the information on social media. It's Councilman KJ. That's Instagram. On Facebook is Keyatta Johnson. On Twitter, Councilman KJ. But I also encourage people, here's the official way, right, to do it professionally. My office number is 215-686-3412, and it's 686-3412. And my emails, which comes to me, is kenyatta.johnson@phila.gov, kenyatta.johnson@phila.gov. And yes, I chair in City Council on Transportation and Public Utilities. So under my jurisdiction is SEPTA, CSX Rail, and all of the utilities. So gas, electric, water, all those companies are under my purview in terms of my oversight as being chairperson. And so, yeah, we do get calls regarding, can I get help? Ravage your bills, Ravage getting alleyways clean, just got some potholes fixed today.
Man, you ain't hold, man. You ain't fix no potholes
Couple
out
potholes,
here, man.
couple potholes.
Listen, everything out he's saying, I'm rocking with him. I ain't trying to
Not
go
the
against him.
potholes.
But dog, he
See,
ain't.
it's all right, no
we
problem.
need to have you standing out there with the joint like this one right here.
there you
We
go.
gotta
Yes.
videotape him as a.
Yes.
Matter of fact, is there any way that
Say
we
no
can do
more.
that?
Yes, you
Because
could.
you can't tell me that. Like I don't believe
Yes,
that shit.
yes,
like I'm being
yes,
honest with
yes.
you. I don't mean no
It's
disrespect.
okay.
I want to ask.
I don't believe that shit.
It's
I don't
no
believe you got
problem,
no
bro.
potholes fixed. Go ahead.
It's no
sis.
problem.
I just want to ask because when I met you, Councilman
Yes.
Johnson, I represent Thrive. That's how I remember
Yes,
you when
yes.
we were just trying to get some
Absolutely.
answers about the air
Yes.
quality down there. So I
Yes.
guess it's been a year or some change since
Yep.
we came up with you and the mayor and we spoke to you just to
Yep.
get some questions and you talked to us. You
Yes.
organized a meeting for us and you
Yes,
spoke to
absolutely.
us. So I guess I would just like to ask, how is that quality going? How is
Yes.
that air quality going? I know there was a buyer who came and
Yep,
bought the
buyer
area,
came in, bought it.
and they're supposed to be cleaning it, things
Yes,
like that. So what
yes.
can you tell us?
Sure, actually. So let me give everybody an overview of the actual project. So the project is called the former Sunoco Refinery in South Philadelphia. And as a result of some advocacy from organizations, primarily Thrive, right, and other concerned residents, we were able to stop the selling of the refinery to another refinery. And now the space will be, as we look in the future, /warehouse /distribution center / a variety of different other development projects which aren't going to be a refinery. And so when we talk about air quality, the first part and making sure we have quality air from an environmental justice standpoint at that site is making sure it's not a refinery. That's the first part.
Because it has to be rezoned and all type of
Yes,
things.
yes,
yeah.
exactly. And so now we're going through making sure the remediation process is done properly, working in partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency, and also working with the City of Philadelphia just to make sure from an enforcement standpoint that they clean up the site the way the site's supposed to be cleaned up. And we're going, matter of fact, we just had a community meeting most recently on June the 3rd to address issues and concerns, and most important, an update from the community. So it's still a work in process.
Yes, it is.
But it won't be
I
a
appreciate
refinery, which is the big deal.
exactly. We didn't want that. We
Yes.
just don't want that.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
I just wanted to ask you about that because that was an experience for me because I didn't know South Philly is not my district, so I
Yes.
didn't know anything about that. I just
Yes,
remember
yes.
seeing the news
Yes,
and the whole
absolutely.
process of just getting to come talk to you, the
Yes.
way we had to get in contact with you. It's a
Yes.
process. That's why
Yes,
you just
it
put
is.
your number out. So if
Absolutely.
anybody in your community, if you want to
Yes.
speak to your leaders, you have to call them. You have to get in contact. You have to write them letters. You have to get in contact with them and let them know what we need. You know, it's really serious.
We work for you.
Yeah,
So
like,
if
you
y'all
know.
do have a bunch of potholes up here, right? Where I'm at? What part of the city is this again?
It's like
East Oak Lane or something?
East
Where
Oak
am I?
Lane, West Oak Lane,
West
you
Oak
know,
Lane?
Uptown. They just call it Uptown. So Uptown.
I used to hang out at Bruno's. So
Okay.
when I was a young boy, back in the day, the pizza shop. When I was a young boy in the pool hall over there, but you know.
So you said you love black people, man. Like and that for me, for all it should be for all of us in here. So I ain't gonna say just for me, but anybody that knew me, like you can't just say that to me.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On some real, like you can't
Sure.
just say that to me. So
Yeah.
the one of the things I would like for you to put out there, like how in your position, how has the rules been different for you as a councilman, as a black man, becoming like forget whatever you did,
Yes.
criminally or whatever.
Yes.
But since you've been a councilman or even running for office, how has the rules been different for you as a black man?
Well, to be upfront with you, I think our people hold me to a different standard than the people who didn't look like me that was in a position before me.
Right.
Right? I rehab every single recreation center in my district, right? Took it to a whole different level, right? But the level of accountability, just being real, and it's probably because of the color, right? And maybe the familiarity of, like, we know Yacht from the neighborhood, is different from the level of scrutiny, right? And accountability than my predecessors, right? And,
Right.
it's evident But I just take that, it come with the territory. I love my people, so I don't take it personal.
Right.
But if you say how has the rules have been different, it's just the level of standard. And I have a track record actually showing the things I've done to improve, right, the area in which I represent since being elected, and the difference between my predecessor and not. No knock on my predecessor. I'm just saying, if I be honest about how the accountability is more scrutinizing on me as opposed to individuals in the past, that's the only difference I've seen. And that's just having a real straight up
but you saying accountability as far as your constituents, not the system, like not,
now
city government.
The city government wise, I mean, I can't say off the top of my head what particular area where I'm actually fighting for, or I would say it this way. In terms of how I'm treated, I'm not paying attention because I'm rumbling on every single issue equally across the board, right? But it's always going to be a fight to make sure that we're addressing those key issues that have an impact on my community. Always a rumble. Where on some issues you'll see individuals get a pass, but we got to fight a little bit harder for rise. I think that's the difference I would see in terms of dealing with the system. In terms of treating me in a different way,
right?
Really, just like it is what it is.
As far
Come
as
with
your
the territory.
constituents, you said that you think they judge you different than when they judge a white person, let's say. Is it because you grew up in South Philly and people know you?
I think it's a combination of, and I think this is how you have to approach it. We should hold our elected officials the highest standards, right? I think some of it may be familiarity because I know Keyatta. So for me, my challenge has always been I'm really from the neighborhood, and I think other elected officials may be, so no knock on them, but I like people seeing my transformation. I'm still working in the neighborhood I used to be in the streets in, and I changed my life, and I'm still living there. So sometimes it's a familiarity piece. You can do 10 things, but on the 11th call you didn't respond. Whoa, wait. Bro, you just said, I just built a whole brand new playground, but you ain't get the trash picked up. But, hold up, though, dog. So sometimes that play a role, right? But I think sometimes it's familiarity. But I'll say this, though, because we're having a frank conversation. That has never, I've never wavered, though. I love what I'm doing, so I take it at, okay, all right, cool, no problem. You know what I mean? Kind of is what it is in the process. But for the most part, though, I've seen different discrepancies where I'm like, you jumping up and down on this issue, but the neighborhood been like this for that long. So do we get credit for the work that we're actually doing in the meanwhile? And I got big shoulders, so it's kind of like, all right, it is what it is. It's part of the process.
Do you think you get your flowers?
Absolutely. I get more flowers than I get, shade and hate. That's right. And I say that because I say this from a humble standpoint. I'm always getting calls and showing love of appreciation just from just helping people. Rather it's the prisons reaching out to me, rather it's people's in the neighborhood, rather it's people sending us cards in my office, or people just reaching out, encouraging me just to keep my head up, in terms of the work that I'm doing. Or I support everything that you're doing and continue to keep doing it. So, yeah, I get more flowers than,
So the flower joint is a good joint because I think we do get our praise, but I think you gotta be doing this. That's why I said that. Like when you said, damn, I put 10 things in place, and then that 11th thing, y'all calling me like I ain't put the 10. But from our standpoint, it's like, and we don't got to go into this Obama conversation because I definitely don't want to have that, but I want to use it as an example. We feel like when somebody that look like us take the pole position, you supposed to ram every goddamn thing we can get. Like it's a tireless thing because we so far behind.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And our people may not be able to articulate. Sometimes that comes out as hate. Yeah. But really what it is like when I see your face, I expect you to do it's a tire like that next 4 years. This is how I look at black politicians to me. The next 4 years, you should be committing political suicide. Now, I'm not telling you got to do that because, it's your career involved and all that. But I would say set something up for after the 4 years because you're going to be privy to a whole bunch of information, business-wise, whatever, that if you ain't smart enough to take advantage of that and step away from politics and still be able to make money or whatever you want to do, you was in the way anyway. I know I've never been an elected official, but I've read enough. I talked to enough people to know the type of information you can get personally for your personal gain as an elected official it's going to be at a level that you probably wouldn't get at any other job unless you was like an investor or something.
But that's a given, right?
Right.
That's a given. I think most of us, though, as an elected official, as a public servant, right? I don't, and you always have to have a plan B.
Right.
And a set up for a game plan. But me personally, I'm more immersed in what I actually have to do for the here and now.
Right.
Right? To make change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's where I'm at. I'm a dad. I got two toddlers. And I would say this, though. Any event, when it's time to make the transition, though, you are right. If you haven't gained any level of knowledge from the work that you have done to transition, to set yourself up, then you probably wasn't learning along the way. But for me, personally, part of why I do what I'm doing is because, again, I'm up 24 hours a day, 365 days out the week, grinding and focusing on, right, how do we really, really, really make change for our people? And so, yes, I want to follow up on one part that you mentioned, which is correct. And I look at it from this aspect as well. Yes, we are so far behind. And so, again, as elected officials, particularly black ones, we should be rumbling, going over and beyond the call of duty when it comes to saving our community. Like, over and beyond. Like, right now, we at what? Close to, how many homicides we at, Vince?
Over 200. It's high. I really want to hear about these programs.
And we and we on the path to hit 600, right, this year, right? So for me, right, all of us as elected officials need to be outraged, right? But the community got to be just as outraged as well, or even more, right? Because at the end of the day, no one's going to save us but us. When we get sick and tired as a whole of being sick and tired, I think we'll start seeing more change. But yes, that level of accountability has to be there to make sure that, like you said, I'm stepping up, the next individual is stepping up, and we're working collectively to try to get our young people back on the right track.
Now, Councilman, how is it? Because as a musician, and I was just speaking to a few people, with music and hood politics and things like that, is kind of...
You said hood politics?
In music, we have our, our own dynamic of how things is running. Sometimes it's kind of similar to how you guys run out here in the streets, how y'all get calls made, get things done. And for me, I want to ask you, for black people, how is it that we need, how can we come together? What is your ideal come together situation? Like, if you think about a problem, like a pothole situation that's happening down there in South India.
I'm gonna take some video for you.
What do you ask yourself when you say, "Dang, well, I want to do this. I have the power. I have the I can." But you also need support.
Yes.
So what can you tell our people? What can you, some insight on how we can get that togetherness, that back getting cohesive, because it's off. And it all plays into roles from the violence. It's a cycle. It's bad. And for me, I'm always struggling because I'm trying to send the messages. I try to give the people the colors so they could come and hear what they need to hear. But I don't know. It's so hard when I say come together. What does that mean?
I just think it's going to take more men.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to start with the men first, right? We got to take a lot of these younger ones under our wing, and we got to, again, we got to, change the narrative.
Yeah.
Because, all of us in here, I can guarantee you have our own stories, right? So none of us are special from that aspect, right? But I just come from an era where a lot of stuff that's accepted now.
It wasn't like that.
Wasn't accepted back then. It wasn't like, I think maybe one kid, got murdered growing up in my era. I think two of them. One was shot, he's still living. Another one was murdered. And then I think a third one once I became an adult. That wasn't the norm.
No.
Now the norm is you a juvenile. It's just a part of our everyday life. But here's where I'm hopeful at, right, in terms of bringing people together, right? It's just talking to the youth and giving them a different, not only a different narrative, but hopefully a different mind frame about what's out here.
Yeah.
And it's my job, right, when that young man called me and say, you know what, I'm tired, right? And then we get these calls, right? Like, I'm tired. I don't want to be out here no more, right? But what's my options, right? And it's our responsibility to try to find what that option is. Apprenticeship program, somebody want to go to school, relocation calls, I don't want to live down here no more, can you help me and my family get relocated? To try to give people a sense of hope if they try to do something that's different, right? And then also we got to look at, it's a tough issue, but what we value. That's why when I said I started Peace Not Guns, I teach conflict resolution, anger management, but I also think about anti-street education, because I already know for a fact, and again, none of us are here, we all got our own individual stories, but streets don't love you back.
No.
At all. Streets don't love you back, right? And so a lot of times we write off a myth that a lot of things that we engage in now, that we glorify, I don't co-sign.
Oh, yeah, I don't co-sign that.
Co-signing.
And I'm going to tell you that right now, because you can't. You cannot co-sign those fake things or those distractions, because that's what they are, and that's what they're going to do. And that's the last thing that we need.
And I'm not saying every kid have to say, I want to be a college graduate, go to school, but what's your option?
Right.
Right? Like what are you planning to do to change from within your current condition, right? And I just feel like it's my responsibility to at least try to be that person to support with the resources and give encouragement, right? But it's going to take all of us, though. It's going to take all of us.
So everybody, this is PSA, Philly Service Announcement, TakeOver Tuesday. We got the love, we got the support, we got the grace, we got social activism, resources, entertainment. Come on and get what y'all need. That's what we doing out here. So we got the councilmen. Give them the name one more time, platforms, where they can come up and actually step to you and be like, yo, man, I need you to do X, Y, Z. Give them that address.
Sure.
Give them that spot.
City Hall.
Okay.
City Hall.
Oh, no. Where's the lunch spot? Where do we eat on South Street or whatever? Like, let them know where they can come sit down and bust a grub with you. City Hall, that's generic. Like,
so they can come to, come to the breakfast spot on Point Breeze between Dickinson and Reed.
So
one closer. Hold on, the one closer to Dickinson and one closer to Reed.
No,
Which one?
I'm going to one closer to Dickinson. Yeah, I'm going to one closer to Dickinson. Yeah.
So I wanna
1442 Point Breeze Ave.
Now, because I get right to it, man. And if you don't want to answer it, that's cool.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Are you having any ethics violations? Any criminal investigation? Like I read about the situation with when John Street was in office, and he never got indicted, but everything that happened to him with Kemp and all of them, I read about that upstate like it was a goddamn movie, like it was a book or something. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I felt like the ethics is different. That's one of the reasons why I asked you the question earlier. I just feel like I already know. So since you didn't, you know what I'm saying, I got to go a little more direct with it. I got to be a little more direct with it. But, I mean, to be honest.
Go ahead.
Handle your
handling. I'm going to say this because obviously anything taped.
Right, it's on here.
And my folks is like, yo, just chill.
I got you.
But I'll just say this, right? When you fight the good fight and you speaking with passion, right? And you don't compromise on your principles, you rub some folks in different places the wrong way. I'll just leave it that way.
And listen, I know how I go because I done been under situations.
So
you know what I'm saying? You already know. But the reason why I put that, the reason why I need to act is because it's people that believe certain things. They see certain things, they believe certain things. So if everybody needs an opportunity to give what the real story is for them. And if we are talking about you and you saying, listen, man, the proof is going to be in the pudding at the end of the day. My work speaks for itself, and that's all you want to say. I respect it. But some folks might feel like, nah, shit, I can say whatever I want to say. So I need both. I need whatever you going to give me so they can have a better understanding.
I'm going to leave that where that is.
No doubt. So
that's all.
So
how long have you been a councilman?
I've been a council person since 2011, and I've been a state rep before then.
So do you aspire to be anything bigger? Like, I'm just talking about in politics. Like, do you aspire to be, governor or anything, mayor or whatever?
Like right now, my focus is on being the best council person I could be.
Right.
Right. I'm a new dad. Right.
Congratulations,
and I enjoy. I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So a lot of my time when I'm not working is focused on them. So that's where I'm at, man.
Right. So
I think about them in their future.
It's about them now. Is it anything program-wise? Like you spoke about violence prevention programs. I'm big on the whole prevention thing. Like this, because this is something that I learned. I just started working at I-Day. It's a diversion program. It's the only black-owned diversion program in the
Yes.
city. So that's one of the reasons why I like to ask, and I want people to be honest about what's happening different when we run something, when we in a position versus when other people run things and other people are in position. I can give y'all a lot of examples. It was, well, one crazy example that most people know about, but this happens a lot in the city and in other cities. Any places where there's racism at, this is going to happen. So you had the pandemic happen. You had black women who are medical professionals. They have the consortium. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but you probably heard about them. They still out here.
Black Doctors Consortium.
Black Doctors Consortium. So these are black women who weren't getting paid for this. They came together. The pandemic, it was an emergency situation. They put their information and resources together and came out and started serving our people. There was a young man, white young man, fresh out of college, not a medical professional, probably a good talker, dressed real nice, did just graduate from college, 24 years old, no experience, provided no resources, had no track record. The city somehow, I want to say the city, I could be wrong, you can correct me. Somehow he got $10 million. I ain't going to say who gave it to him.
It wasn't $10 million.
He got more?
He got like 150,000.
He got like 100. Well, they reported it as he got like 10 million. Now, go ahead.
But the issue was that how did he get this contract where you had this highly qualified black doctor named Dr. Ayla Stanford, right, who was on the front line working with other black doctors. Like, how did he jump in front of the line in front of her?
Exactly.
In order for her not to get a contract after him. And so that process was totally, it was a process, and I wasn't involved in the details, but we had hearings around it.
Right.
It's totally unacceptable, bottom line.
And I'm sure that you have seen this. You've seen this movie before.
We've all seen this movie before.
Right.
Because that's a part of institutional racism here in America.
Exactly.
But the doctor did get she did get a multi-million-dollar contract. And she's being, what else she being?
She's under consideration for the health.
She under consideration for the health condition.
Now was this after the uproar of his situation?
Yes.
So it was like she deserved it. I know she's going to use it the way it's supposed to be used, but that's an issue, ain't it?
I'm going to agree with you on this. She should have got support from jump.
Right.
Period. Right? Because we were all advocating for her from jump, and the level of resistance was like a variety of different reasons as to why, they weren't going to use her in the beginning.
Right.
And I will applaud all my council members, right?
Right.
Stood 10 toes down and advocated and advocated and advocated and advocated and advocated, and now she got her just due.
Now, and you see how many times you said advocate? Like,
shouldn't have to.
Exactly. So when in those moments, like, who are you one of those people that be like, listen, I know some of my brothers and sisters in city council, wherever they at, they gonna try to play both sides, which I don't. It never works for us when y'all try to, compromise with people who will not compromise on the back end at all. Like, they'll compromise in public. You see it on the news and all that, but they'll be like, well, that didn't get funded, or they fought us on the funding. They let us get the policy through, but then they fought us on the fund. The little minute details that continue to show institutional racism. Are you the guy that steps up and be like, yo, flat out, this is racist, him, and him. I see what y'all did to keep this money from going. I'm going to let the people know that this is y'all being racist in this moment. Are you one of those guys, or do you try to compromise guys?
All of us collectively.
Right.
All of us collectively address issues of injustice and, most importantly, institutional and systematic racism. I got plenty of examples of how we've had to address it. And so this council body, separate from myself, right? I think is probably one of the most that I've worked with in the past is probably the most strongest when it comes to calling out and addressing just straight up, racism.
What it is.
And also I'm going to say the environment that we're in right now, right? I call it post-George Floyd, right? Because remember, everybody started talking about being black and woke. They weren't only talking like that prior to George Floyd. It was some movement after Trayvon, right?
Right.
But after we saw what happened to George Floyd with our own eyes, right? And America can't deny that racism, like, really, we all know it exists. But right now, you have some folks who think that life was just great, and then after they saw George Floyd, like, well, hold up, well, wait a minute, right? And I think that changed the whole environment. But even within that, right? Like, I just saw a report the other day that said that American companies corporations pledge $5 billion, right? post George Floyd, right, to support black businesses and the black community. They only spent $250 million. I call them out on that.
Right.
Same thing, I did a resolution in City Council calling out the NFL. NFL said, oh, we're going to do this whole big Black Lives Matter campaign and we're going to invest all this money, but here it is. They have a concept called race norming, right? You know, you get hit, you know how you get the concussions from playing football, right? Well, you know, they actually believe that we are different as black people. Our
No
brain
doubt.
is formed
They just
differently,
stopped doing
right?
it just now. They really just stopped doing
Right?
it.
And so that's an example of, you know, calling out a spade a spade.
Right. So I like people to be able to understand. Like they'd be like, "Yo, he said a lot of stuff. It sounds good.
It's cool.
Can you give the people like 2 or 3 policies, right, that had direct results in our neighborhood that you championed, that you've done or wrote or been a part of, or somebody else did, and you want to give them their props? But I need the people to know, like, when they run into this councilman, this is the nuts and bolts thing that they did that had an effect on our community. You dig what I'm saying? Because a lot of times there's a disconnect here. We don't be knowing. We be like, and we hear a lot of fluff. So, and again, I'm going to use presidential politics because, you know, that fame game that goes on with that. People tend to remember those people more when actually you probably should know your governor, the mayor, who your state rep, the senate, and all that before you even know who the president is. But you remember some people, probably young folks don't, people used to be like, Bill Clinton, he did X, Y, Z for our community. So one of my arguments always used to be is, tell me something tangible that Bill Clinton did that touched our community. Tell me something tangible Obama did that touched that I can walk to the corner and be like, this right here is here helping us because Obama passed this or Bill. And nobody can ever come up with anything with Bill Clinton. Pretty much people can't really come up with things from Obama. You know what I mean? But
Obamacare.
I'm gonna give you, well, Obamacare it was significant. I think some people don't recognize that our country also was on the brink of bankruptcy. Right?
No doubt.
When he became the president in 2008, and he actually kind of brought us back from, you know, devastation, which really has an impact on your family members going to work every single day, right? But I'm gonna tell you a couple policies I worked on. I'm very, very proud of. Some sexy, some aren't. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm proud of a bill that I introduced. It's called Loop, right, which is long-time owner occupants program, right? I'm gonna tell you what it basically is. It's a tax abatement to help people stay inside their homes. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm significantly proud of it because in parts of my district, right, the neighborhoods are gentrifying, super development, developers building all around the district, and people are losing their homes. And so as a result of that bill, right, I know for a fact thousands of individuals have the opportunity
to keep their homes.
And it means a lot because when I go and talk to people, they talk about how they give their testimony about, you know, us having the opportunity to save their homes. In terms of in a program, it gets a little scrutiny today because it hasn't been moving fast as it should have, but I'm proud to be a part of it. The mayor did a program called Rebuild, right? A little controversy right now because the projects aren't moving as fast in terms of rebuilding our recreation centers as they should have, but the part that people don't recognize is through the bill we supported high quality pre-K for the children, right, and daycare centers, right? And why I'm proud of supporting that particular initiative, right, is simply for the fact that when you talk about pathways to improve the qualities of our conditions as a people, right, I'm big on education and making sure that child has a chance to go to a high quality pre-K daycare, right? For me, it's something that I take personal because at the end of the day, every young child should have an opportunity to a high quality education. And so that's another initiative. When I see the kids, I'm always smiling from daycare centers that we help go from a 2-star to a 5-star daycare, which is predominantly African-American women. Even on the gun violence tip, prior to my level of advocacy in city council, we have what you call boots on the ground organizations, right? That's your mom and pop organizations that's out there doing work, mentoring, after school program, basketball leagues. They weren't able to come to city government at one time to seek funding, right? Now we're in a process where they can apply up to $50,000. And $50,000 isn't a whole lot, right? But just think about it. If you don't have a nonprofit, you just run an after-school program or a dance group or you got a drill team and you're trying to get funding to keep some kids, you know, out of trouble, right? we were able to advocate, work with community groups and advocates to actually put that policy in place, right, which we never had before. And my proudest one, it hasn't opened up yet, will be the Office of Victim Advocates. And that's what we're looking for executive director for. And the reason why this one is special for me is because I work with the moms who lost their kids to gun violence, right? And I look at this from a whole different spectrum, right? But until you look the mother in the face or them kids that lost their big brother, that lost their sister, or talk to a mother or talk to a father who lost their children, right? And understand what that hurt and that pain feels like, and to be able to take their recommendations to create an office that's going to do nothing but advocate and fight for them is something I'm really proud of.
Go ahead, bro.
What is the qualification you looking for the director to be?
That's long. The person has to have, we prefer a master's degree, but they can have a bachelor's degree and have to be versed in policy and service around victim advocacy. And victim advocacy is just basically, right, have a track record working with individuals who have been victims to some type of crime and or violence. But also, well versed in, when I say policy, they don't have no problem, talking to heads of state government, right? But can also work on grant writing, policy, but still have no problem going to the funeral or after a homicide and talk to that mom, make sure that mom is all right. Talk to the police commissioner, make sure that homicide is. Listen, do you know that when homicides happen, sometimes they treat the parents like the parents are the criminals. Just with your son in the gang, well, he got him in the gang because he got shot, right? And so this office will be that advocate to kind of make sure you're building that bridge, right? Or you might have a homicide that happened 2-3 years ago and the case get cold, right? Shouldn't you at least just check in and say, ma'am, listen, we don't have any information as of the date, but I've learned through doing this work, that's a whole different population of people. Like, we talk about criminal justice reform, that's great. Addressing mass incarceration, that's great. Police reform, that's great. But what about the people that's really suffering because 500 homicides last week, that's 500 families that don't have nobody advocating and fighting for them.
Well, it's 229 homicides so far this year.
Yeah.
What is you going to do is try to slow that down?
What have we been doing? So we have been working first and foremost with partnering with community groups, right? And I represent primarily working with groups in my district, right? And I just mentioned we have an event tomorrow at Stinger Square in South Philly, 23rd and Wharton. Again, Peace Not Guns Call to Action. And that's in an effort to work in partnership with the leaders from the neighborhood, right?
What time is that?
That's at 4. That's 4 to 6 tomorrow.
So,
hopefully it don't
just
rain.
Just say it one more time. We want to make
Yeah.
sure we get that out because it's tomorrow.
Peace Not Guns Call to Action. Tomorrow, Stinger Square, 32nd and Reed Street, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I've been having these call to actions at recreation centers and playgrounds throughout my district. I'm all in the effort to work in partnership and organize the community leaders, right, to find ways to get them involved. Because y'all have the best answers, right? A lot of times, and I say that sincerely, a lot of times we as elected officials, right, we working from City Hall, right? But the most important place to get our policies and recommendations are from listening to the people. At least that's my personal way.
So make sure y'all come out to Stinger Park.
And make sure y'all follow him on social just in case it get suspended because of the rain or something like that. Follow his socials.
And we continuously keep happening.
Now,
but also you said, well, what else are we doing? So, separate from advocating in this budget for funding, additional funding from the stimulus funds that's coming from the federal government, we're working on initiatives around trauma, right? We're working on a hospital coalition called Hospital-Based Intervention that basically deals with, let's say, somebody gets shot, they go to the hospital, right? Well, where you start plotting on going to go get somebody at after somebody gets shot? In the hospital. That's where temperatures flare, right? That's where mom crying, kids crying, and the person that's shot, hopefully, if they're not murdered, right, people begin plotting and strategizing retaliation. So we got a hospital-based program that focuses on the retaliation component, but most importantly, addressing the issue of trauma, right? Yes. When that person is shot, how do they recuperate, right? Some people get angry, right? Some people say,
people's personality split.
Yes, or they may say, well, I tried to give him a referral when I got shot, so I learned from there, I'm gonna be a shooter, right? But we want to address the trauma from an intervention standpoint, We're going to also be supporting and increasing funding the organizations that we call Boots on the Ground. I'm sure you're familiar with NOMO. My man Ricky Duncan, my man from South Philly, he got a program that we advocate and support. We got Every Murder is Real. A lot of organizations, and there's a lot of brothers and sisters that are out there actually doing the work. We want to fight to make sure that they got the support that they need,
Definitely.
right? At whatever level it is, right? And then also, there's a variety of different other areas that we're focusing on, just making sure that something simple as our city agencies are talking to one another. School district talking to the DA, DA talking to the police commissioner, probation and parole talking to one another, courts talking to one another.
Holistic approach.
Yes, because that's not what's going on right now. We kind of work in silos.
Now, I'm big on prevention. Like I like after the fact stuff. You know, I'm not saying it's not important, but even with, like you say, making sure that the victim families, the people who have been victimized, are properly represented in the process. But I also think it's need to be a prevention thing attached to that. Even when we're talking to community leaders or whatever, even if you have a program that's a real time or after the fact, you need to have a part of that that's prevention. So give me, when we talk about gun violence, just in particular, because you could probably talk about a lot of different things, but give me 2 things you think preventatively needs to happen in terms of gun violence, like 2 prevention things from a prevention standpoint that need to happen.
Right? Well, first and foremost,
just personally to you, because everybody got their own idea.
And one of the things I'm advocating for, we got to give our young people opportunities. Right? That's the first one, right? Because I'm often running into young men, right, whether they're in the game or not, just looking for an opportunity to make something of themselves, right? Some come to me on probation or parole, looking for an opportunity to kind of change their life, right? And then you got some that I'm just tired, right? So really us aggressively strategizing and making sure that any young person that's looking to change their life, or not even just change their life, but just get involved in something positive, that we have those opportunities for them, right? So that would be the first part, right? And then the second part is really looking at, from a prevention standpoint, is around the issue of trauma, right? Really trying to get to the root cause of why young men pull guns on each other, right? Why, when you take a sign of disrespect because somebody may say something on social media, that the response is the way the response is.
Right.
And I believe from a prevention standpoint, rather, it's us going up on state roads, talking to the juveniles who are going to be lifers, rather it's us going to the juvenile justice center to talk to the young men just regarding, I call it anti-street education, right? Trying to get our young men to figure out, like,
And just stop having kids that you don't want. Being a parent is very important. You don't need being a parent means you're giving your whole life to another human being. Trauma starts a lot when we're children. A lot of us African Americans, we grow up in a lot of trauma because a lot of us have a lot of, being a parent is rough. It's hard. We go through stuff. Life, you go through trauma, all of us. But like you said, if it's not the proper outlet and the right information about what you're going through, it's going to look crazy on the streets.
But
Question: is the Big Brother program still around?
Yes.
Okay.
Big Brothers, run by a gentleman I know named Marcus Allen.
So, my bad. I don't mean to cut you off, but you definitely gotta come back through.
Absolutely.
We need updates on stuff. We need to know where it's happening at.
I know we do downtown. So
downtown,
whoever your council person is, when I say downtown, I mean South Philly.
Yo,
so whoever your folks is up there.
We about to get out of here, man. This is PSA Philly service announcement. TakeOver Tuesday. We appreciate all y'all for coming through, man.
Absolutely.
You definitely got to come back.
I'll keep up the good work.
Definitely.
I'll be back. Follow me at the Queen G. We got shows coming up, performances, everything.
The assist, we out of here.
Councilmen Kenyatta.
And just before I wrap up, y'all keep up the good work, because at the end of the day, right, and I say this, right, y'all are the leaders of now, right? I'm just elected official, enjoy what I'm doing, right? But continue to use this platform to speak truth to power. This is the most preventive way, because this is what the young people listen to.
Well, make sure you. I'm gonna talk to you, because make sure you get this. We about to get this grant from the violence prevention, since you said it, so we gonna do it. Violence prevention.